Hi class, welcome back. So we're gonna go over matrix plots, and make sure again you click download, then save it to your computer. Open up Colab, file, upload notebook. Select your file that you just uploaded, that you downloaded, so you can upload it here. Then you're gonna be able to see the notes. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna be able to talk about how to represent some matrix plots, usually to be able to distinguish. It can be beneficial for many things to be able to see where the depthness of the data is located by using colors. So that's one of the greatest benefits of using matrix plots. So let's start by importing Seaborn as SNS. Then what we're gonna do is we're gonna upload some data from the Seaborn file. From the Seaborn library. I don't know why it's taking that long. Okay, all right. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna extract some data. We're gonna call flights, and we're gonna get it from the library of Seaborn data set. So this is data that is built in the library so that we can play around with our graphs. And it's called flights. So we're gonna upload it into flights. Now that flights is our data frame. We're gonna do the same thing with tips. SNS load dot data set tips. And now what we can do is we can see tips dot head to see the top 5 data from our tips. It's always good to double check that you have the right information. We can do the same thing with flights dot head, so we can see year, month, passenger. Right? So just to double check that we have. Oops, we're gonna put this one over here. Just to double check that we have the information uploaded, right? That we have the correct information. So they're both data frames. We can see if we do tips.info. Oops. All right, wait, this. Info, and this can tell you more information about the data. So this is a data frame object. It has 244 entries. There's no null, so we don't have to clean it. It's already clean. This is a float, string, integer, a total of 7.4 kilobytes of data. Right. So what we can do here is, we can do let's do tips head to check what is the top data for the tips, just to see it again. And what we're gonna do here is we're gonna see the correlation between different columns. So the way to see the correlation, we use the core for correlations, short for correlations. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna be able to see correlations between different columns. So we can see here that the correlation between the total bill and the total bill is 1. The tip and the tip is 1. The size and the size is 1. Why? Well, it makes sense. They're the same data, right? But when we look at the correlation between total bill and tip, we can see there's a 0.67574 correlation, which is about 50%, right? Not bad. The total bill and the size is about 0.6. So the higher the number, the more correlated they are. And so we can actually graph that by doing sns.heatmap, and we can do tips.core to be able to see the correlation between in a matrix graph, the correlation. So in order to be able to do that, in order to be able to use heat map, you need to actually have a matrix. So what we did here, when we take the tips and correlation, we actually turn it into a matrix, and that's the matrix that we're gonna plug into our heat map to be able to create that graph. We don't have the matrix, we won't be able to graph it. So we need to first change it into a matrix format to be able to do the correlation. So the heat map is only practically it's only gonna be able to color a matrix. We can actually add more than just the colors. We can actually add the numbers of each correlation. So we can do C map. So that will be for the map colors. And let's do cool, warm. So we can choose what color, other color that we want to see. And a notation would be true. True will be the correlation value. Now we can see the correlations between each one in a graph. So this makes it a little bit better, right? And you can see that the heat, the blue will be very low correlation, and 1 will be a high correlation. So then you can be able to appreciate by looking at the colors where the higher correlation is. All right, so let's do the same thing for flights. So let's look at the flights pivot data table. Sorry, table. And we're gonna choose what values we want to be able to see, which will be the passengers. And as index, we want to choose the month. Columns. So what we're doing here is we're organizing this table, this matrix. So instead of using the correlation to be able to find out a correlation between the tips, what we're doing is we're making our own correlation, our own matrix, and we're choosing which columns and rows do we want to be able to see in the matrix. So here we're choosing that our values will be coming from the passengers column. The index will be the month, and the columns will be the year. So practically your X value, sort of like your rows, will be your month, and your columns will be your year. But the values will be represented by the passenger. So we could actually choose something different if we want to do something else for the values. We could do the mean value for each month or something like that if we wanted to. So you can actually choose a different value depending on what you want to see. So if we do that, then we create this matrix. Light is not defined. Oh, I spelled it wrong. And make sure that it's spelled correctly, otherwise we'll get it wrong. Lights. It's not defined. Let's see. Copy. Paste. There you go. So I spelled it wrong. So there you go. So we have now a matrix that we can take and put it, and we can put it as our matrix to put it in our color map. So we're gonna define our pivot, still the same thing, and what we're gonna do here is we're going to use the color. So we're gonna say SNS dot heat map. Now that we have constructed this matrix, we're gonna use the PV flights to color it. And you can see that the darker ones will be a low density values, and then the lighter color will be a high density number. So that means that there's more passengers flying on 1960 on January versus 1949. And that kind of makes sense, right? If they were correlated correctly, right? There was more flights later on in the as more years have passed, the accessibility to flights have increased, so more people are flying. And you can see that around June, July, and June is probably when most people are taking vacation, so there's more people flying. And hold on, let me add another one. And what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna add the same thing, my heat map. I'm just gonna take the my heat map, but I'm gonna add a little more um, control. So I'm gonna separate it by white lines width equals 1. So the separation between 1 and the colors will be based on the magma color. And so let's see what we get here. So here we're separating the boxes by a line width of 1 with a white space in between. We could make it a different color if we want to. We can make it blue if we want to. And that would make it a different color, right? So you can choose what you want to see, right? So that depends, right? So this is just to make a little more separation between them if you want to. Nothing fancy, just the same thing, right? All right, so we can take our pivot flights and we can create a cluster map that allows us to be able to see the connection between different columns and rows. So you can see here that there's a correlation between the first two rows and the second two, the third and fourth one, and the fifth and fourth one, and then you can see the correlations. There's a higher correlation between the second set of two rows and the second set of and then in the third set of two columns have a higher one than the first one, and so you can see the correlations between them. We can do the same thing with do this with different colors by doing a